Welcome to Talkin' Tea with Auntie, where we discuss interesting topics with everyday people. And today's topic is parenting with Samshine Art and Karibat93. And now to your gay auntie, Shining Nathan.
Hello, lovers. Welcome to Talkin' Tea with Auntie. As always, I'm so excited to have y'all join me today for a little slice of life of other people's lives and everyday people. I'm excited to continue doing this series, and today we're talking about parenting. It's going to be fantastic. Today we have two very fantastic guests with different perspectives. We have Sam and Karibat93. It's a very exciting one because one has a newborn and a new parent, and the other one has a 9-year-old. So they have two very fantastic different viewpoints at different stages of parenting, which I think would be a fantastic thing for us to explore together. As always, I'm excited to have you here. If you like this content and want to be a supporter, feel free to go to my Patreon, patreon.com/Shining Nathan. And if you want to be able to ask questions of our guests during this upcoming series, because we're going to keep going on and on, feel free to become a patron. That's how you get to ask these questions. Now, as always, let's get to our first guest, and that'll be Sam. Welcome, Sam. This is Sam, a fantastic new mama, and I'm excited to interview you today. Welcome, Sam. How are you?
Hi, I am good.
Your hair's looking beautiful. Oh, trust me, I know what you mean.
Thank you. The hair detracts from the eye bags.
That's what the hats are for me. Honestly, it really is. That's I usually have mine, but I take them off because they do this weird shine for me. So other people have mastered the art of keeping the shine out of the glasses. You've mastered it from what it looks like.
Good, that's good. I was like, I don't know. Do I have the shine?
I just only pay attention because I'm like, oh great, I'm trying to show off my eyes. How do I do this? Hold on. Setting this timer for our second guest. So, Sam, how old are you, darling? Or what's your age range if you don't feel comfortable giving a lady's age?
I will be turning 30 this year.
Congratulations, my love. Yay. And from my understanding, you just had your toddler, right?
Yeah, so she was born in end of 2020. She just turned 2.
Oh, the terrible twos.
Oh, it's something.
So that is a very true thing, huh?
Oh yeah, we jokingly say her name's Artemis. It's a wild name for a wild child. Super sweet, but oh.
Oh my God. I could only imagine. I've seen my nieces and nephews turn 2, and it is a thing. It is a thing. And so what, aside from being a mama, what do you do for a living, and what corner of the country do you live? You don't have to give specifics if you don't want to, baby.
I just moved from Canada to Texas, which is a big jump.
Oh,
and currently I'm a tattoo apprentice. I do have a background in, I've been doing photography for about 10 years and body painting for about 8.
Beautiful. So you have been an artist through it. This is what you've been doing for your career. That's awesome.
It's finally going to become a career. Like it's been a side thing for years of just kind of flailing, trying to get it going. You know, I was trying to get in the film industry for a bit, but then the pandemic happened. I got pregnant. So I think this is finally, once my apprenticeship is through, I think this is finally my shot. Like I'm finally going to make it happen.
Oh, that's wonderful. And how has been exploring this beautiful dream come along in concert with now being a parent?
Challenging. I definitely think though it makes me work harder because I have goals of things that I now want. Obviously every parent wants better for their child. Time management's difficult, but I never used to have any time management. Like I look back at my time pre being a mom and I'm like, what did I do with myself? I had all this time. What did I do with it? Like I wasted it.
I think we all do that, so don't feel bad.
But now that I have her, like I have to be like, my brain's very anxious, so it tends to nope out of things. If I have an option to kind of just be like, nope, my brain does that. But being a parent, you can't. I've set time to do my dishes, to do my laundry, to do my homework. I also do some social media stuff for a tattoo shop. So like I have to be on the ball or, I'll miss this opportunity.
I commend you on that because especially terrible twos. And I have one question that spurred up. But so, what is one of the surprising things from parenting? Obviously, you learned time management. What's one of the other surprising things that you've gotten from becoming a parent?
Oh.
Or that you've discovered? What surprised you about it?
You know, it's funny, all week, like leading up to this, I had the potential questions in my mind, was like, I'm gonna be super ready. I'm super excited for this. And now that you ask me, I'm like, there's just music playing in my brain.
Don't feel bad at all.
I think just like, because she's 2, right? So she's still young, but sometimes she, what's the word? The way she interprets what I say is very funny and not something that like I was super prepared for yet. I thought that was going to be like 3-4 years old, maybe. She wanted a treat a few weeks back, and I said, okay, well, if you want a treat, you need to eat more of your noodles. There's a bowl of noodles on our coffee table, but I didn't specify that. I just said noodles. So she opened the pantry, pulls out a box of raw spaghetti, and sits on the floor and starts eating it. I'm like, she did what I asked.
She followed instruction. You just
Right?
weren't specific.
Comedy gold. I was not prepared for how, as in like frustrating and tiresome as it could be, like hilarious.
Oh my God. I would be cracking up, but also frustrated too. Sounds like she's kind of like a cat. Like I tell her, get out of there, and she does get out, but goes to another spot I didn't want her to go, but it's a cat.
No, she has all these toys. Our whole living room's just like covered. We look like borderline like hoarder issues. And yet there's an Amazon box. She's sitting in it. Sometimes if you don't like watch her like a hawk, she'll like pull something out of the trash and be like, yeah, this bottle cap, that sounds cooler than all these toys I have. Literally a cat. Actually, I'd say like a hybrid between a cat and a puppy is very accurate to a toddler.
That I've seen that. That is very, very accurate for a toddler. And so in this transitionary period, did you recently, like in the middle of parenting, move from Canada to Texas, or did you move to Texas before you gave birth?
Nope, well after. So it's kind of an interesting, sad, but like cool story. So my partner's from here. I'm from Canada. We met at a comic convention. We were just friends for a long time. And then I came here for a concert in 2020 before everything shut down. I had a couple drinks and went back to Canada with a really expensive souvenir. And so unfortunately, when everything shut down for the pandemic, I would have been allowed to travel, but Americans were not allowed into Canada for a while. But even though I was allowed to, I couldn't travel because we have different like maternity leaves in Canada, and you have to work certain amount of hours to get that. So I had to be working, so I couldn't just like up and come here. And so my whole pregnancy, I ended up calling my parents and I was like, I'm moving back in because I'm not going through this alone. I was living with my childhood best friend at the time, but you know, it was just me and her sister and their little family. So I needed like more support than that. And then about 3 weeks before she was born, my husband was finally able to come up and be with me because they added like more exemptions to who could come up and why, and they finally decided that childbirth was a valid reason because pre-October they're like, you can travel after the child's born because now you have a biological family. And so he came up and then he was there with me for 2 months, came back here, and then we were apart for roughly 8 months. He came to visit us in Canada once in there. And so she was, we came in July. So she was about 18-ish months when we were finally able to come over because I finally got like my visa and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was
So what's it been like parenting, being a parent and mom in Canada versus being a parent and mom here in the United States?
I think the biggest difference, and it's very specific to where I was location-wise. So I'm from Ontario, but I did spend the last 6 months before I came here in Nova Scotia because I have family there. I'd always wanted to live there, never had the opportunity, and this was just the right time. So the biggest difference has been just like I was living with my uncle who's like this 70-some-odd-year-old hippie, like awesome. But like, so people would come in all the time. Like it's a small town where you don't really lock your doors. People walk in and out. You have people over all the time. Like you're never alone, which I don't know, sometimes you want to admit it to yourself, but mostly
Yeah.
it's nice to have that company. To like in Texas, like everyone locks their doors, people call or text before they come over, which is like so foreign to me.
Yeah.
It's nice to have my own space, especially now that I have a lot of homework. But sometimes I'm like, I wish someone would just like walk through that door and surprise me and just have like extra company without asking someone to come over, you know?
Yeah. That is very interesting. I never thought about it. I remember once upon a time that in my family, but I'm from a very small town, so that was what happened, kind of. But wow, that must be that's such a different change for you. But you seem very happy with the decision.
I feel like at a certain point, like if this was me 10 years ago, I'd be like a mess over just like how big of a change it was. But at a certain point, you're just like, yeah, it's life. Let's just roll with it. It never goes how you plan anyway.
And in terms of planning, what did not shock you when you became a parent? Like at all?
I think just like it just came natural. Like I hear some parents it just happens, some parents it doesn't quite. Like I was very fortunate, even though I was quite sick during my pregnancy. I had an easy labor, and I didn't really have to deal with too much postpartum issues, like very minor ones, but nothing major. So it was all just very natural. I came into it very naturally. She was surprisingly a very easy baby. Maybe that's why she's such a wild toddler.
I gave you a good first 1.5 years.
and I've always dealt with insomnia, so even the lack of sleep wasn't, maybe when she was about a year or so old, it started like being like, okay, I'm exhausted now, but I was already used to not sleeping a lot. So a lot of like the early parenthood things that like are really difficult for a lot of people were not for me, thankfully.
That's fantastic. Honestly, and it seems like you took it like a duck to water, I guess is the term. Or a goose to water. Isn't that something up in Canada, I guess?
We not everyone, but like, have you ever seen those posts online where they'll like rename animals to like what they should have been called?
Yeah.
So I've heard quite a few people jokingly call goose cobra chickens. Don't go near them. Like they're nice to look at a distance. They're evil.
Geese are mean. Geese are evil things.
They are. They really are.
And so, in front of learning that about a goose, geese, what is something you've learned about yourself as you've become a parent that you learned of self? That's a big thing to happen and wind up all of a sudden you ta-da, another human being. Yeah. So what have you learned about yourself?
I think the biggest thing would be resilience. Like I said, like I've always been a very anxious person, dealt with a lot of depression, and not well. A lot of times it was debilitating. I'd go long stretches where I couldn't even get out of bed. It was very poorly managed. But when you have someone else that you're responsible for, you just have to. And it boggles my mind that I'm like, wow, like 10 years ago, I probably would have not deemed myself worthy enough for an apprenticeship, or not gone after certain opportunities because I felt like I wasn't good enough or whatever. But having my daughter, like I've learned that I am a lot more resilient and a lot stronger and a lot more capable than I ever gave myself credit for.
That's wonderful. Honestly, a fantastic gift to get yourself. And so what is your most funny moment that you've experienced as a parent?
Literally, there's something every day with this child. Another like funny story of just like misinterpretation is, so we're slowly starting the like potty training. And I was running her bath the other day, and she goes to sit on the toilet, which I brush her teeth there and stuff all the time, so I didn't think any of it. She's like, sit bum. I'm like, yes baby, sit on your bum. And then she starts peeing. And I panic. I have like panic my eyes. I'm like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? Like, I didn't want to clean this mess. And she looks at me terrified, and instantly like it made me like come to, because she's like, I'm pee potty. I'm like, you're right, baby. Mommy did say we pee on the potty, but like when she was done, I opened the lid and I was like, in the potty, sweetheart. I was so proud of, like, because potty training has not been going good. I was so proud. She took this initiative, but that's not what I meant.
There's a lid, baby. There's a lid.
There's so many of these moments that like you don't think. It's also like it comes natural to us now because we've learned all this stuff. You don't think twice about going to the bathroom.
No.
Everything's so brand new to them. So all the stuff that you're like, oh, why don't you just get this? It's like that's because they don't know.
They're literally new to existing.
The stuff that ensues is very funny.
Honestly, that sounds wonderful. And you seem you loving being a mama.
I do. I love my kid. She's literally the perfect mix between my partner and I. She has a little bit more my personality, a lot on the chaotic end, but she looks a lot more like her daddy naturally. Aww. I'm whiter than milk. Her daddy's Hispanic, so I figured it was a given. I didn't have much chance in this department.
Our genes can be very potent.
Yeah, ours are not typically. But she's not a typical toddler. Like I've put all the like Disney princess movies and stuff. No, she likes Nightmare Before Christmas. She likes The Grinch more than she likes Santa.
She sounds like she's gonna be a spooky kid.
She thinks skeletons are cool and bugs are pretty.
Yeah.
She sees 100%. Like horror makeup like things come up on TikTok. She'll be like, oh, pretty.
Oh, honestly, she sounds like my kind of girl.
I literally couldn't ask for a better kid. Like I feel like every parent thinks their kid is the best one, but she's personality is so perfect for our little like family unit.
That sounds wonderful. I can't wait to hear more about her. But now I'm going to bring in Karina and send you off to our nice little waiting room so you can take a little break. And then I'll bring you back.
I don't know how to stop talking.
Oh, you're fine. Don't you worry. You're doing beautifully, my love. And then we'll bring you back in about 15 minutes, baby doll.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. See you in a second. Hello, Karina. Good to bring you here. I'm so excited to have you here, Mama.
Hi, I'm so happy to finally be with y'all in here.
I'm glad to have you here. When I saw your comment on that post on Instagram, I was like, you know what? I should. So was excited to have you. Beautiful tattoo work, darling. Absolutely stunning. I love it.
Thank you.
It's so crisp. Is that a death head's moth?
It is a death moth. I've had it for 4 years now, 4 or 5 years.
Beautiful. I love it.
Thank you.
And so, Karina, tell me, how old are you and the age of your baby? Tell me a bit about you.
So I am 29 and my son is 9 years old.
Oh, so you have a baby boy. Sam has a baby girl. This is wonderful. And so I know 2-year-old terrible twos. And what do you do for a living, Karina?
So I'm an operations manager for Buckle at North Star. Kind of do a little of everything, kind of like the behind the scenes type of person. Yeah,
that is so. Wait, ¿estás aquí en San Antonio?
Sí, aquí vivo en San
Antonio. Oh, okay. I live over here in the what you may call like Almost Park, Monte Vista, all that area.
Ah,
like, wait, you said North Star. Wait.
Yeah. yeah. I live near North Star. It's kind of my area.
I mean, I like that area. I was just like, I saw this little apartment. I was like, I want this one right here. I've lived all over. I used to live off of Wurzbach, off of there. Anyway, I've been working in retail as an operations director, manager. How has that impacted you being as a parent? How have that meshed? What's it been like for you?
It was hard to adjust at first because it's a very demanding job. So you go in at 8 a.m. Sometimes you're out at 5. Sometimes you're lucky and you're out at 4. So I've been blessed with my mom being able to have my son get dropped off by the bus and be with her till I get off work. Luckily, I get at least 2 weekends off of the month and I get to be with him. So that's a really good thing because before then at another company I worked for, I didn't have time with him and it was hard. Like there was a point in this company I worked for that I missed a lot of his first moments because I was so stuck working all the time. Mm-hmm. So I'm lucky to have found this job now because it kind of worked with my hours and they understand that my mom life comes first and then comes my work life.
Yeah. 100%. How long have you been in this type of position?
So for this one, for the company now, I've been in less than a year, but I've done operations manager for about 3 years. But I've always done visual marketing for say almost 7 years or so that I've done marketing.
That's beautiful. I love marketing. That was my position before I went into all of this. So
So you found your true calling.
I did. Working for law was a big pain in the behind, but I don't regret it. And so, so what did you do what was it like becoming a mother and a parent? What was something that surprised you about parenting? Because you had him about the age of 20, correct?
Yes, I was 19 when I gave birth.
Okay.
So I was very, very young. It was very scary. It was a very scary moment because you can read all the books, you can hear all the blogs and watch all these videos, but it doesn't really prepare you when you're in that moment in the hospital and you're like, oh my God, like I really am having a baby, like right now. Like this pain is real. Like, no, none of this is fake. It's not like the movie. No, everything is horrendous. You're just like, get out. So I was like kind of prepared because I've seen my mother give birth. But then when it was my turn, I was like, I don't like this. I don't like these at all. Yeah.
So it sounds like he was a surprise baby. I was a surprise baby. So
yeah, he definitely was a surprise baby. And it's funny how the universe works because at the time, his father and I were just having a lot of trouble. And that week, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna end it. I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna go do my own thing. And then my mother was in the hospital giving birth to my little sister. And I called her and I was like, hey, my stomach's feeling really weird. I don't know what's going on. I'm feeling like really sick. The first thing she says is, you're pregnant. I was like, no, I'm not pregnant. She goes, no, I'm your mom. Like, I can feel it from the phone. Like, you're pregnant. 3 tests later, I positive, each one. Didn't even have to wait for 4 minutes. It was like,
pregnant.
okay, fourth test. Especially at that point where I was just like, Mom, I'm pregnant.
And so, from having the surprise baby, what has parenting been like for you in this fantastic journey?
It's been almost like a book of adventures. You have your sad moments, you have your triumphant moments, you have your really, really chaotic moments. And then you just have those moments where it's true peace and tranquility, because those moments you're seeing your child grow and do these amazing things that you're literally like, I made this. I was able to create something, and look at how beautiful they can create things themselves. Being a mom is hard. It's easy. It's chaotic. It's loving. It's full of wonder, and it's definitely a lot of learning. Like, you are never, ever not gonna not learn, because what I thought I was doing correct maybe 3 years ago, I learned that, hey, this isn't working. I have to grow, and I have to learn a different way, like a different approach. And of course you hear everybody tell you like, oh, you have to do this, you have to do that, and all these little chitter chatters. And I always tell moms, follow your gut, your instinct, because it's your baby, no one else's baby. So being a mom, I had to learn to listen to that gut, because I realized I didn't want to be like so-and-so. I didn't want to do what they did and things like that. Like, I wanted to do what I needed to do, that I knew in my heart was going to be best for my son. So it's definitely an adventure book, a continuous adventure book.
And so in that adventure, what have you learned about yourself that you didn't realize, or what is something you just generally learned about yourself during this process of being a parent?
I didn't realize how strong I truly was. There was just a lot of moments where I could have easily just packed it up and gone and gave him away or something, but I knew in some way I was meant to continue being his mom, because everything that good that happened in my life was because of him, was because I kept pushing forward and fighting for more and fighting for better. And with that, being a parent, I learned, like, damn, I'm strong. Like, wow, I did that. Like, I did that. So I definitely learned a lot, like, my true strengths of being a parent and being a woman in general, or just being a person in general. Like, you realize how amazing and strong you really are when you can go through those triumphs and errors and all of that in your life while being a parent. And it's not an easy task, but you grow stronger. And that's something I've definitely learned, that I'm a lot stronger than I realized.
That's beautiful. I can only imagine what you've learned and experienced during this. My mama had me late. She had me at 36. She thought she was menopausal. But there are a lot of funny moments that I remember. What are some funny moments that you've experienced during this whole process that stick out in your mind the most?
So definitely a lot of the moments are kind of like those aha moments, especially when figuring out, like, how to potty train. Because when I was pregnant, I originally thought I was going to have a girl, and my mom had nothing but girls, so I knew how to handle a girl. And when we went to the sonogram, before the doctor could tell us, I turned around, looked at it, and I just saw his legs wide open. I was like, that's a boy. Tell me that is a boy. So that was another, okay. We gotta rewrite the playbook. We definitely got to rewrite this playbook right now. And it's those little moments, like, I was just like, so like, okay, let's see what we can do next. What's the game plan? And another funny moment for me was, I've always been into, like, the alt rock goth scene. And I was listening to a Slipknot CD, and I was just kind of chit-chatting with my friend at the time. And she was like, hey, what's your kid doing? And I turn around, and he's just, like, dancing to Slipknot and just, like, just having the blast. And I was like, he's just like me.
I'm gonna have a alt boy too.
I love it. And it's just like those little aha moments where he teaches me, because he's, like, into, like, engineering and space and NASA and stuff like that. So he's always teaching me things, and then I'm always teaching him things. So we have those aha moments where we just connect on a subject, and we're like, you like that too? He's like, wow, we're best friends.
Oh.
That's definitely those moments in parenting that are, like, the best, honestly.
Oh, I love it. And I was gonna do T2, but I was like, I feel like something cold. So of course I have my HEB brand sparkling water. I love your tea.
I live for sparkling water. I've been trying to wean myself off soda.
You say that's what I did.
I do a lot more sparkling water, and HEB probably has, like, some of the best ones that
I
I've
love
had.
HEB. Anybody that doesn't live in Texas and doesn't experience HEB really is missing out on something.
Oh, for sure. They don't realize, it's like, is it kind of a cult? Kind of, but you save money.
But you do, and they take care of us. So win-win.
Oh yeah, it's a win-win. A win is a win.
A win is a win. And so I wanted to ask, and I forgot to put this in the thing. Are you, because he's 9, are you looking forward to his teenage years? Or is that one of those things you're like,
in all honesty, when people talk to my son, or even if you were to meet him out of random, you would think he was already a teenager. He's a very mature, young, witty, intellectual boy that I know with my constant growth and us being very open, communicative with each other, I think we're going to be okay during the teens.
Good.
I'm not ready for the puppy love part. I'm literally gonna be like, who hurt you? Where are they? Like, and you know, the best part of it is like we have discussed already. He's very aware of the birds and the bees. He's aware of sexual orientation, what transgender is, what the LGBTQ plus is. So he's kind of already prepared in that sense, where he's not going to go into those awkward teen years like maybe we did, and we were so confused with everything. Because
dear God,
teach me all that. I had to learn the hard way, and I was like, why didn't I learn this?
This is not the way I should be learning this. This is not the way I should be learning.
Yeah, I was like, this does not seem right. I was very adamant about like, okay, I want him to be prepared. And obviously more detail and preparations are going to go along as he becomes a teenager.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm definitely keeping that open communication. I don't want him to ever shy away and think, oh, I can't talk to my mom about this, stuff like that. Like, I want him to just be like, hey, I'm having this issue and it's a teen growth issue. What do I do?
Yeah.
And then a lot of things, to be honest.
A lot of things are going to change in the next few years, sweetie. A lot of things, and it's not going to be fun at all.
Oh yeah, no, and he's like really sarcastic as it is now, and definitely that's my personality trait in him. So there are times where I'm like, if he's like this now, what is he going to be like when he's a teenager? Oh my God, what is he going to do when he's a teenager? And I'm just like, I got this.
You got this. You 100% got this. You've done 9 years already. You can make it through the teen years.
Oh my God.
I have full faith in that. And I guess we're going to bring back Sam. And so y'all two can fully meet instead of our brief introduction of the green room. And then we can have a joint conversation between all three of us with a few other questions. And so I'm going to bring Samshine here now. Let's have her come on. I'm excited. This is a wonderful thing. And heck, y'all can talk about. Welcome back, Samshine.
I like half dozing off looking at nails on Instagram.
Honestly, I did the same.
Understandable.
100%. There's several nail artists here in San Antonio. I'm like, oh, that looks expensive.
I love looking at it. It's so pretty, but like I cannot stand anything above cut nails. So I'm like, oh man, so pretty. I want so bad, but yeah.
Especially being a mother of a terrible two toddler. Karina, do you have nails? Do you nails or short nails?
I don't. I had a kind of a bad experience, and I just kind of strayed away from doing my nails for a while. I want to get them done eventually, but it's a little bit of an experience beforehand.
Samshine, have you ever had your nails done long, or they've always been short?
So it's kind of funny. So when I was a teenager, I always had long nails. I kept them in, good condition. I always painted them myself and stuff. And I grew up like not having like a crazy ton of money. So I always thought it was stupid. Like I feel bad saying that, but I didn't get it. I was like, oh, this is frivolous. Like, why do people spend money on this? I didn't get it. And then like a lot of my husband's family like get their nails done. And so when I was pregnant, stuff started slowly opening back in Canada, and my husband, then boyfriend, sent me money and he was like, go get your hair cut, go get your nails done. And I was like, okay, whatever. Like he's wanting to do something nice. I'm not going to shoot it down. And then I got my nails done and I was like, oh, pretty. I was like, okay, I get it now. I totally get it.
I love that. I always tell people, pamper yourself. Have a you day. Like, don't shy away from, even if you don't want to like get long nails, like get a cute little manicure, a pedicure, get your hair done once in a while. Like it just makes you feel like a brand new human.
I understood like facials. I understood getting your hair done. Like I totally like got the hype around that. But for some reason, and maybe it's because I do so much art that nails would get ruined quickly for me. I just didn't get it. I do now. I see why people really is nice.
Oh my God. No, same. Trust me. I when the first time I painted my nails was probably about 2 years ago, and I was like, It glitters. Now I do black a lot because I think I'm going into my Morticia Adams epic or era,
Love that.
which
Love
I'm
that.
totally right. I was like, I mean, right now I'm dressed in color, but I was like, I'm really feeling this like velvet black thing I'm wearing. Really?
I kind of stopped doing my nails as much when they discontinued my favorite nail polish.
What?
Oh,
No.
no.
What color?
Sally, it was Sally Hansen, I think like diamond something, and I don't remember the color because there was like a few iterations that were almost identical and I didn't care which one it was, but you did have to put several coats because it wasn't like the most expensive, but it was this beautiful like holographic nail polish, but the glitter was so fine, it left no texture, no nothing. I didn't have to do anything additional to kind of get rid of that excess texture. It was just this beautiful, like, you know, in Sailor Moon when she's like transforming and there's all the light and she's kind of like pinkish, it kind of looked like that, but for your nails, if that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
100%. I've had something similar, but not like that, and now I want that. I want
Now
that.
I'm very curious about that.
Right? I'll need that in my life.
We found I was on my stepmom when she found out it was discontinued, went on eBay and found like 8 bottles. So I like maybe once or twice a year I pick my nails with it and then like I put it away for the next
So while we're on the topic of doing our nails, what do each of you do for self-care as being parents? As somebody with the terrible twos and somebody with a 9-year-old boy, and both people working full-time, working hard. What does each of you do as for self-care, I guess?
A lot of baths. They are not light at 2 years old and they want to still be held all the time, so a lot of baths to help my back.
Yeah. For me, I literally I go shopping. That's definitely my thing. I go shopping, or I literally just drink tea and read a book. That's my biggest self-care. I wanted to go, when I became a parent, I wanted to go into parenting not making it my whole personality. Like, I was still gonna be Karina, who happens to be a mom. So I made it a thing to continue my favorite hobbies, and that's how I do my self-care. I continue by either watching my anime, my reading, or shopping, which is like one of my favorite things. And now my son likes anime and he is really good at shopping. Like, he's so good at giving you the right opinions on what to buy. Like, it's amazing.
I love that. I love that you said that because that's literally me. Like, totally, like, I understand the need for sacrifice, and sometimes you do what you gotta to make ends meet, but I also like never fully understood parents that are like, oh, you know, like my kid's like 13 now and I don't know myself and I don't have hobbies. And like I was like, I think it's I don't want to say anything bad, but I feel like a lot of older generations, like, they have kids and view it as I had a kid, so they raise their kid as kids. But like, my mentality on parenting is I want to raise a functional human. I'm not raising a child, I'm raising an individual. So I mean, if I want her to have hobbies and her to have interests and her to be like a strong person, I have to keep my hobbies, I have to keep my interests, I have to be my own individual outside of parenting.
I agree. Karina, ¿tú también?
I definitely agree. I think a lot of times, and this is something I've witnessed in our culture being Hispanic, a lot of our moms lose their identity, and then when the kids are gone, they're just kind of left like a little shell. And it's always so daunting to see something like that. And from witnessing things like that, I wanted to break that chain and continue being myself while also being a mom and growing together that relationship as a mom and son, but also putting that boundary, like, yes, I am your mom, but I'm also me, and I get my feelings hurt too, and I get sick too, and I have bad days as well. So that was something that I going into parenting, and that I always recommend new parents, is to don't forget who you are. Like, you were a person on your own first. Don't forget who you are at all.
And both of you clearly are still y'all's own people, which I think is wonderful. Clearly, Samshine, since we have Karina here, are there any questions you want to ask another mother about because she has the 9-year-old, you have the 2-year-old. Do you have any questions you want to ask a mother who's a little, I guess, further on in the child stage, I guess?
I think the part that always just like gets me curious is not so much like the ages and stuff, but just like me and my cousin are super, super close, and she has 3 boys. So as a girl mom, I always find it interesting, like talking to like a boy mom, like just obviously it's hard to know the difference when you don't have both, but just maybe things that you didn't expect about having specifically a boy.
So I was expecting to have a girl, and the reason was because I helped raise my sisters. So I understood girls. Like I was like, okay, this is easy, I can do this. And when I found out I was having a boy, I literally had to just come up with a new game plan. And I was like, okay, get the books, I gotta make a vlog. You gotta watch the videos. Like, I was like, what do I do with a boy? And there's gonna always be those differences between raising a girl and a boy, no matter how hard we try to raise them equally. There's just certain spiritual aspects and bodily aspects and mental aspects that are just always going to be different. So I always wanted to understand the difference of raising a girl to a boy and then vice versa, and then learn and pick and understand, like, how can I raise my son to understand why his classmate who's a girl is feeling like this? Like, how can I help him understand, like, maybe they don't want to hug, and that's okay. You can back away. And if you don't want to hug, tell them to back away, and it's okay. So that was something that I had to instill into my brain, because I was like, oh, boys will be boys for like the first half. And again, that goes to the machismo culture. Yeah, it goes to like all that weird what we grew up with. So really it was like a learning experience, and you just have to constantly keep teaching yourself and learning and understanding, like, okay, my daughter is experiencing this, but that doesn't mean I can't ask for help from a boy mom, because maybe that boy is also experiencing it, just in a little bit of a difference. And then y'all can just meet on a middle ground, and just, which I really try to do with moms, is like, let's meet in the middle ground. What's going on with yours, and I'll tell you what's going on with mine. Maybe there's something that we can do together. So that's definitely something that I wanted to grow and learn with, especially because like I said, I was so prepared for a girl. And then when I had a boy, I was like, well,
It was literally the opposite. My family has a lot of boys, so I was just like, I was ready for boy. Like, I have 3 younger siblings, 2 boys and a girl, and I helped raise them, so I know how to handle boys. And when I found out I was having a girl, I'm like, what do I do? I mean, I know how to do makeup, I know how to do hair, but I am not like a super fashionable person. I liked climbing trees and jumping in mud pits as a child, so I was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna raise another little girl like that stuff.
Yeah, so honestly, all a learning experience. What works for one mom may not work for you, and that's okay. You can take little things from different parenting cues and make it your own and create your own game plan. You know, like you said, you know, you're like, how do I do this with a girl? If makeup is not your forte, then teach her to dance in the rain, climb the trees, be bathing in the mud. Like, the other little things she will learn from friends or classmates, like, oh, mom, I learned this about makeup today. And then together, y'all can use that as a bonding experience and learn together.
Maybe I can help her with makeup. Fashion, she's out of luck.
I mean, fashion, they're just taking back our old fashion. Let's be honest. Mm-hmm. Like the things I see on TikTok, I'm like, we did that. That was 95. That was 95.
That's super cool though. I try to put myself in other people's shoes. I try to think of different perspectives, but I never thought to specifically like be like, hey, I know your kids are all boys, but what is the mentality kind of like, so that I can try to explain this to my daughter? Like, I never thought to ask that. That's super cool.
That is
Awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of learning experience. That's what I tell people. And I had to learn that, again, because of our culture is so square, it's already like put in. So I had to really climb myself out of that square and be like, okay, I'm in open water. But we're gonna row this little boat and we're gonna do our best.
Even as like a French Canadian, like I heard that a lot too though growing up. Like little boy would bully me and it's boys will be boys, or that little boy likes you. That's such a messed up. Like I'm so glad that this generation's kind of moving away from accepting that as reality.
I agree too. I think that's gonna make us into a healthier society as a whole, which I'm super excited about. I mean, I'm not going to have kids. I don't plan on it unless I wind up dating or marrying someone that's like, I want to have a kid. I'm like, okay, can we get one pre-made? Can we do that? Can store-bought be fine?
So
A, I'm pretty barren. I'm pretty barren and these hips cannot have children. B, no.
You know what?
I don't want to
said
become my mother.
I mean, I don't want to be like that parent, but I said no. I said, like, I had it in my mind for a long time. I was like, no, I want to focus on career. I want to become a successful artist. I'm not interested. And then, well, shit happened. So.
Another surprise, baby.
Not a bad one. Very welcome, but.
Oh, there are always surprises can be neither good nor bad. They just are.
Yeah, that's so true. And
so,
it definitely is. I mean, you really aren't ever, like I always tell you, you're never really prepared to be a parent. That's why I believe in, like, it takes a village to raise a child. And I always tell people to network and connect with other moms, because you never know when you're gonna need that help and things like that. And definitely be open-minded about parenting styles. Like, don't just be like, okay, this is what I know, so this is what I'm gonna do. Like, no, like, go ahead and branch out, learn a little, live more. You never know what actually is gonna work best for you.
Yeah.
You know,
that's something
And
I kind of took. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
I kind of took something similar from like how my parents parented me. Like, yeah, if I did something I wasn't supposed to, I'd get sent to my room and I'd be given a minute to calm down, but then they would come up and be like, hey, do you know why you're in your room? Let's talk about what you did. And there were even times that I would do stuff that I wasn't supposed to, and I would own up to it and then be like, okay, what's a fair grounding? And we would sit there and I would say my ideas and they'd be like, no, I think what you did is a little more serious. I don't think that's quite a fair grounding, but I would have a say in my groundings. And so I feel like that made a lot of the punishments kind of stick more, because I got to kind of feel the weight of the consequences more, but also not feel like I had zero control over my life and it was just like a dictatorship, you know? So I feel like that adjusting as you go, and each kid is so different, is so important.
That is actually very, now I'm not gonna say interesting, but it seems like a very effective way of punishing. Karina, every form of parenting is valid as long as you're giving love. What type of disciplinary ways do you utilize have you utilized, or have you tried to say this does not work? Okay, this has worked and this is much better for him in the long run.
So something that I try to instill is every action has a reaction. Every little thing you do can have a consequence. So when you don't do your homework, what happens? Your teacher might be upset and you might get a bad grade. Do we like bad grades? No. So let's work together to get that homework done. Another thing is that I try to do is explain my reasoning to why something has to be done. Or for one of the, like, he was really good about, he never threw tantrums. He was always a very straightforward kid. And I think it came down to the fact that when I began parenting like fully, when he could understand, my first thing was communication. So I always tell like my friends, like, no, like, he just wasn't that type of kid to scream in the store, because one, I made it a point to understand my kid. It's 2:00. We're about 30 minutes away from a nap. I'm not going to take him out to the mall because he's going to get grouchy, he's going to get grumpy. And I don't want to impose his like grouchiness onto the public. So I had to learn his like cycle. And then as he got a little bit older, I started to explain like, hey, it's not cool when we throw something. It's kind of mean, like that's your stuff. Like you wouldn't like me if I threw your stuff, right? And I think when you really sit down and explain things to your kid, it doesn't really become a punishment. I think it becomes more like that open conversation as to why something is as is, you know, like if he decided, like a good example is out of nowhere, he decided to run in the dining room to the living room, and he hit his face onto the couch. And he was like, I don't even know what happened. Like, it was just like a weird spur of the moment. And once we did the breathing like exercise, like, okay, let's breathe in, breathe out, let's calm the tears. I was like, okay, what was the game plan? Into the couch? And he was just like, I don't know, I just had an urge. And I was like, okay. Thoughts on this one. And then once I explained, I was like, okay, well, do you see why it's not good to do that? Because now you have a hurt nose and it might swell tomorrow, so you might have a little bit hard time breathing. What have we learned from this? And he was just like, not to think about my intrusive thoughts and just exactly. Just like, let's think it through. And I go, yeah. I was like, let's think about the consequences of certain actions. Don't have to go through that. So that's something I've instilled with my son. It's not really, I've never had to actually like punish him in that sense. It's always just been an open conversation, like, hey, you didn't clean your room. Like, what's up? What's going on? And I think last time he told me, he was like, I'm just tired. Like at school, he has robotics, so he's just tired. And I go, oh, I get that. Take a nap, play your video game, like just chill. Because we all get tired. Even as adults, like how many times have we been like, I don't want to wash the dishes because you're tired, you know? And it's okay to be tired.
All of us just
understand. Oh yeah.
Literally me the last couple days.
It's okay to feel tired. You just know that there's also the consequence, like if I leave the dishes out too long, there might be some mold, some little critters. Talk yourself into that and have that open conversation with yourself and your kid. And I think that's really what's helped with the parenting. Because I got spanked one time in my life. I got spanked. Granted, I look back at it and I'm like, yeah, I see why. That makes a lot more sense now. And it was because I just did a really, really rude, hurtful thing to my mom. And when I was a kid, and when you're a kid, you just think you rule the world. You think you're right about everything. And now as an adult, I was like, I was like, why would you do that? And so, but when that spanking happened, like, I was just like, okay, I don't ever want to get to that point when I do that to my son. So that's when I started instilling, like, just having that open conversation and dialogue with him so we can understand, like, okay, what's going on? Why are you being mean to me? Or why am I being standoffish? Maybe I'm not having a good day and I'm sorry if I hurt you today. You know, it's about being apologetic and open communicative for me.
That's beautiful. And Samshine, are you able to communicate? Because I know your babies too, and some babies are smarter, start out talking much sooner. Are you able to have like a little bit more of that communication, or are you experiencing the random, I guess we can call it zoomies?
I'm pretty fortunate, and I feel like part of it comes down to me being able to have stayed home with her as much as I did. Like, I didn't start like going back to work, which I don't know if it counts as work because it's an apprenticeship, but I only started that a month before she turned 2. So I've been with her this whole time. But she's actually like super like smart, or like has picked up things faster than I thought. So like around, I'd say 18 months, she started the like hitting. And I instantly, like, I grabbed her hand and I was like, no, gentle. And it was a couple weeks of that. And then she would hit me, immediately stop herself, and then go, gentle, mama.
Aww.
Like she picks up stuff pretty quickly, but like overall, I try to do natural consequences. Like if you throw a cup of milk because you're mad as an adult, you're gonna just have to go clean that cup of milk. No one's gonna come spank you for it. So, she throws her cup of milk, I grab a towel and I say, come clean it. Does she always? No, but there's quite a few times she'll grab it herself and just initiate it. Like I know like big kids can sometimes have bigger problems, and we'll see as time goes, but I'm super like big believer in just natural consequences. What would happen in adulthood? Well, you don't clean your room, you might get bugs. Same with like your dishes. You don't clean your laundry, well, now you have nothing to wear to work and you might lose your job. Like that's kind of the path I want to follow, is just like, okay, you did this thing. What could be the snowball effect? Like not even just in the immediate, it could affect this one thing. Okay, well, if you consistently don't do your homework, consistently get bad grades, you may have a hard time getting into college, and maybe you won't get in, or maybe you have to do extra work, or maybe, your lack of work ethic here is going to hurt you for a while, because I struggled with work ethic. I've gotten really good recently, but it's taken a long time. But, no one's here to yell at me because I'm not doing enough. I yell at my own self, and then I still don't feel like I'm doing enough sometimes. But just kind of that follow. What happens when you do X, Y, Z, and what's the natural correlated consequence in life?
I think that's wonderful. And so I asked this question of Karina, but Samshine, are you looking forward to the teenage years? I know we have a bit of time off.
Yes and no. It depends what she's like. Like I was a pretty decent teenager. I feel like I hit a bit of a wild patch, and as soon as I turned 18, I was like, I'm my own person now. I can do whatever I want. But as a teenager, I loved hanging out with my parents. Like I would literally text my dad and stepmom and be like, hey, I don't want to hang out, but these people are not taking the hint. I'm gonna call you. Please loudly say no. And then they would, and so I hung out at home a lot. But then you have the flip turn of my sister. We're super close now, love her to pieces. She's come such a long way. I'm so proud of her. But she was she came out screaming, and well into her teen years, she did not stop. She was a tough person. I'm I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you. My sister's like, what? You look at me? Want to fight? So it depends. If she's a little more like me, not too worried about it. She's a little more like my sister. But I am looking forward to just being able to share things more, have conversations, watch some of my favorite movies, actually go out and do activities, take her places, go, I don't know, I can't even think of activities. I've forgotten that there are things outside this house sometimes. I'm looking forward to certain aspects. It's hard not to be a little concerned. Teenagers, I mean, they have the functionality to an extent of an adult, but the lack of impulse control of a child.
You're adult 1.0.
Yeah, it's a scary combo.
I look back, and my mother was actually happy when I started staying out late, because my mother was a wild. My mom and my aunt were the wild children. My grandmother would say that her girls should have been her boys and her boys should have been her girls, because my uncles are very kind of homebodies. My mother and my aunt, 71 and 63 respectively, or 62 respectively, they were the wild child. They were. Now looking at them, I look at them. My mom's 71 now. She's a short little thing, and she's still like, I'm gonna kick her ass. I'm like, you can't, Mom. You 2/3 of your body weight is in your ass, and you're off balance. And so on that, but I do acknowledge that I'm a combination of my mother and my aunt. But on that vein, do y'all think y'all become your parents, or have y'all become your mother? I guess.
I've always very much been my own. Even as a kid, I had things obviously in common with my parents, but I always kind of just followed my own. Unfortunately, my sense of humor, the older I get, sounds more and more a carbon copy of my father, and I don't like saying that out loud. I literally stopped a couple days ago. I said something and I was like, oh, that sounded like my father. But parenting wise, I feel like I very much have just kind of followed my own very different approach.
Karina?
That's awesome. I don't think I've become my mother in the sense of mothering. Maybe in handling situations as an adult, I definitely have learned from her in that aspect. But I think my parenting style, I decided to go a little bit of the opposite route of what my mom taught me. her having like 5 kids, I can tell the differences from how she raised me versus the other 4 and so forth. Like you can see the differences of that sense. And I did have at one point like a little bit of a bitterness on how she was treating me versus them. So I kind of pushed myself to not be my mother in a lot of ways. So I try my best to not be a carbon copy of my mom. I definitely have her laugh. And I do have her humor and I like, I do have her strength, thankfully. But when it comes to parenting styles, I try to keep it different. Because I think back of how I developed versus how I want my son to develop. So I wouldn't say I've become my mother as a parent, but I definitely become my mother as my strength and what I'm capable of doing.
I feel like that's like a pretty common thing. Like you'll take the aspects you didn't like about your upbringing and kind of do your best to improve upon that for your own kids, but then you'll also hold on to the aspects you did like.
Oh yeah, for sure. I feel like she's in the weirdest. I feel like she was meant to be a mom. Like you ever just meet someone, you're like, oh yeah, you're meant to be a mom. And I think some people are surprised when they find out I'm a mom because of how individualistic I can be. And then I don't like post my son on Instagram. I don't post him too much on things just because of my fear of social media when it comes to kids. So a lot of people are like, what the hell, you're a mom? I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a mom.
My best friend, one of my best friends.
Like, that literally explains why you have snacks in your bag all the time.
One of my best friends' moms was very much that mom. Like she would always have like all these kids in her van, or like they would be going to a family event and just like her kids' friends were just like an automatic assumed part of the family. She'd always be baking bread, and like she's very much another mom to me. I'm like, she has all sons, so I'm like the daughter she never had, but she's that mom that it's like, yeah, you're a mom, you're meant to be a mom. Like there's obviously other facets to her personality, but nope, that's a mom.
Yeah, that's literally my mom. Like she will feed the neighborhood kids. Like she was just meant to be a mom. And I'm just like, whew, man, I have the one kid and I feel like I have 5.
No, people keep asking me, they're like, when are you guys having more? You made such a beautiful baby. I was like, I know, I said if I did have kids, maybe I'd have like more than one. Yeah, 1 and done. She's like 3 and 1. I am exhausted. She's great. She's great on her own.
And Karina, do you want another one, or are you good with your one boy?
I am good with just my one boy.
Okay.
I liked the idea of having another kid when I was married. But now that I'm separated, I'm just like, ooh, it's a little expensive. What, thank you. But yeah, no, definitely good. And then like I'm 9 years apart, 10 years apart, 13 years apart, and 14 years apart from my sisters. And now that my son's 9, I don't want him to have that huge gap like the way I did, because there's times where I can't relate to my teenage sister because I'm like, I don't know what that means. And she's just like, oh, okay.
Oh my gosh, I feel that. I was getting bubble tea the other day for like all the guys at the tattoo shop. I'll do food runs sometimes, and so I was getting bubble tea, and the guy behind the counter, literally like sweetest looking kid, had like one of the most beautiful smiles. He's so nice, but I said something, and he's like, yes, period, and I was like, I'm on the internet, but
the shock for me was the word dead ass. There was this young. I did not know what that, because like we were chit-chatting, this one gay couple brought this 21-year-old, and we're in our 30s, we're in our mid-30s, okay, brought this like 21-year-old child, and we're talking, it's like, yeah, dead ass. And I was like, what does that mean? First time I heard it in my life. I'm like, what does that mean? I looked over at my friend, I'm like, I'm not, what does that mean? Did he just cuss me? Do I have to hit it?
If you ever want to be confused by language, go visit Toronto. I love visiting Toronto. I didn't love living there. It was really fun to visit, but you listen to Torontonians like speak, and I'm like, they have so much slang that I'm like just having to keep my phone like Google open and be like, what does this mean? Because like
Urban
Toronto's
Dictionary.
its own. No, seriously, they have so much slang that I'm like, that doesn't even make sense.
I don't get it half the time at all. And I'm just like, I'm just going to be not cool. And I'm fine with that. I'm 34 years old. This is fine. Because there are words I refuse to say. Like occasionally they'll make it into my vernacular, but there are words I refuse, like fleek. I don't like the word. I don't like the word.
My sister's 21 and says it all the time. Every time, like anytime I've ever done her makeup, she'll be like, oh, brows on fleek. And I'm like, anything.
Why?
But
I just
please.
don't like how it sounds. I don't like how it sounds. Karina, do you like that word?
I will say that I've kept up. There's some lingo where I'm like, huh? But there's some other lingo that I've kept up with, like Twitter, my sisters, or even my son. One of the things that I've realized that I've started to say because of my son is my boy or my guy. And my boss will say something, I'm like, my guy. It just doesn't work that way.
For me, it's what everybody calls everybody, okay, bestie.
Yeah,
absolutely not. Like you're just like, no. I'm like, absolutely not. Absolutely
not.
Yeah. But it's also like funny.
Words are weird.
How like your environment will change how you speak too. Like the owner of the tattoo shop I'm doing my apprenticeship at, he'll always like if someone is like, oh no, I'm not gonna go to that get together or like whatever, he'll be like, don't be a lame. And like I've caught myself, like my husband will do something and I'm like, you're being a lame. Like I just started picking up the lingo from the shop guys.
Honestly, I feel bad because my brother is 19 years older than me. My closest sibling from my father's side, because my father was a puto, is 9 years older than me. But my brother on my mother's side, because I have all half siblings, is 19 years older than me. And so there's moments where he says stuff and I'm like, okay, wow, okay. You were born in the 60s, weren't you? 70s. It's weird.
No way. You just said that.
The way culture's changing, I'm like, I'm not even gonna keep up. I'm just gonna be drunk. That's it.
I wasn't cool in high school. I'm not trying to be cool now.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. No, it's hard because the environment that I work in, there are a lot of youngsters. And I just naturally call everybody my kids, especially at work. I'm like, oh my gosh, these kids cannot clean to save their life. But there are times where I hear them talking and I'm just like, what are we talking about? Like, what's going on? What does that mean? Is she mad at you or is that like good? I can't. Or they'll invite me to like, there's some, they're like early 21, 22, 23. And they're like, oh my God, let's go to the bar together. And I'm like, it's not my bedtime, baby. I can come.
You get one of these out of me a quarter.
That's me. The event has to be ending at 10. If you're telling me the event starts at 10, even 10's pushing it. I'd rather your event ends at 9. Like I'm about to put please leave by 9 signs all over my apartment, even though I love having people over. But you're telling me it starts at my bedtime?
Yeah, no, it varies on my mood. Some days like, oh yeah, let's rage. But there will be moments where I'm like, out, I'm ready. And then suddenly at midnight, I'm like, I want to go home. Bye, I'm done. And I'll say bye. And then there's other days where like somebody, who was it? When we had the freeze here in San Antonio, you're in the Fort Worth area, right, Sam?
Yeah.
Well, we were getting ready to have that freeze and my friend's like, oh, we're having a get together. He called it something I refuse to call it because it sounds very jock and we are homosexuals and I'm not using that language. But he was like, oh, well, we're having a get together here at my place. And he was like, if y'all want to come. I'm like, it is 25 degrees outside. No, absolutely not. And you want us to get there by 9? And I have to go to Leon Valley?
Oh.
No. And because Leon Valley has a lot of those automated stoplight cameras. Get down.
Mm-hmm.
My cat's
there's a bunch of traps there.
Tons of traps. It's a traps town. That's not San Antonio Incorporated.
You just say get down to your cat. That's his house. You're living in it. You're lucky to be there.
That is my child.
I remember my husband, when he came up after I had our baby, he was like, he's like, I'm just gonna move this cat. I'm like, no, you're not. You are in my cat's house.
Once she is on my lap, okay. The problem is I'm trying to keep her from getting on my lap because she will do the full like paw right on my bladder and just all her weight.
Oh yeah.
And she is already a fat cat, so I'm like, no, I don't need that. So
I had to leave them in Canada, unfortunately, but one of them was like, if he spread his paw out like fully stretched, it was almost the size of my palm, like big boy. So there's times I was like, especially when I was pregnant, I was like, Stormy, like you need to go.
Oh my god,
Big
she's a
boy.
big baby. Yeah.
big baby. Jesus, do y'all have any pets, Karina?
No, unfortunately, we don't. We kind of plan on getting like a pet snake. A little unconventional, but
No, snakes are so
it
cute.
goes with the vibe.
Gotta stay on brand.
So no like pets or nothing like that. My neighbor, she has dogs, and my son's just kind of like, oh, that's cool, I guess. But we definitely talked about getting a pet snake. Maybe like a pet tarantula as well, things like that. That's just that's just who we are.
I mean, I'm like, you know what? You get. I was cool with the snake. Tarantula, like, I could get behind it, but not in my house. You can keep it in.
Snakes, lizards, cool.
Like, I love watching them on TikTok. Do not get me wrong. Like up close, like, oh, they're so cute because they have the big old eyes. But then when they're near me, I'm like, the monkey brain in me just makes me not want it. So to keep us moving along, we're gonna ask. No, we're fine. This is fine. I love having this discussion. We get to have a little bit of both of y'all, and a little bit about the parenting. So to everybody listening and watching, if you want to be able to ask questions of the guests, you can become a patron on my Patreon at patreon.com/Shine and Nathan. And there you get to ask questions of all our upcoming guests. And I have some wonderful patrons that have asked questions of our two lovely ladies who have joined. So first, we're gonna ask this question. They're all a bit wordy, but it's only 4 of them. So first question from my patron Hannity Krat says, loving your children without conditions is a hard thing for some parents to manifest. They claim such love, but a lot of parents still don't accept or understand that their children are not their individual souls. My question is, how can parents be better at accepting their children for who they are? But also, how can children talk to their parents about such a sensitive topic? That's
Ooh,
very
that's a good question.
Who wants to go first? Or do y'all want to have an open discussion between the two of y'all?
I mean, I feel like it's sorry, I just talk. It's what
Oh,
we
go
do in
ahead.
my family.
Let's talk, y'all.
I feel like it's so there's like 2 parts. So I feel like the first part is like changing your perception of it. Like everyone goes in the parenting of, I want to do this with my kid, I want to do that, I'm going to teach them this, I'm going to teach them that. But they have such a preconceived notion that when their child maybe doesn't like those things or doesn't want to do those things or doesn't have that personality or has, different lifestyle preferences, it doesn't match up with like the image. And then that's where the parents kind of like panic, and instead of readjusting and letting go, which is hard, they kind of cling to this idea and end up like unfortunately kind of stifling their child. But I also think if you want your kid to come to you about stuff, you really have to like watch your reaction. It's like, if you go, okay, did you hit that kid? And the kid says no, and then you go, okay, don't lie to me, you can tell me. But then they come to you honestly, and then you yell at them for it. Well, that teaches them as they get older that you're not a safe person. So I feel like the way you pick and choose your own battles, you kind of have to do the same with your kids. Like, I mean, it's hard sometimes. They push the buttons, but you kind of can't have those big reactions, and you have to always come back to a conversation, even if not in the moment, so that your kid knows you are actually safe and they can come to you about sensitive stuff because you are a safe person for them, instead of, because like, anything, substances, swearing, like I'm not against swearing because my kid's going to swear whether in front of me or not. So I can teach her how to appropriately do it and not to be cursing at people. If you stub your toe, go ahead, let out an F-bomb. She's going to do it whether I want her to or not. All I would do by telling her not to curse or getting mad at her for it is that she's just not going to do it around me.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So I want there to be that line where she knows, I am the parent, I have final say, but I also want there to be a discussion. I want her to know that her opinion is valued, her preferences are valued, that, she is safe coming to me, No,
I definitely understand that. I think one of the biggest issues when parents become parents is that they haven't either let go of their trauma and then they bring it onto their kids. And I've seen this happen in real time with certain parents or people where they're like, well, I didn't get to be the football star, so my kid's gonna be the football star. And I'm just like, what if your kid isn't like that? They're like, no, sports is the best, yada, yada. And when I saw those things and how damaging it really was to these kids, I had to reaffirm myself and like really take grasp, like, okay, I would love my son to be in theater. I would love for him to do all that stuff that I did, but that's not him. And I had to really be like, okay, who is my kid? How can I continue supporting him? What else can I do for him? And in every little interest that he had, I took interest in it as well. I didn't want to shut it down right away. And I think parents need to understand that you created something individual. It's going to have its own emotions, its own dreams, its own desires. And yeah, you can guide them to maybe do something that could benefit their career or their life choices. But ultimately, you're going to have to understand that they're gonna do something sometimes that is not okay. Then how else are they going to grow and learn? Because how else did we grow and learn? Like, there's many times that I've messed up, but I learned from it. I learned to pick myself up with the guidance of my mom. And I think that's something that a lot of parents need to understand. Like, you can guide your child, but you can't always tell them what to do, how to do it, how to dress, how to say it, or how to be. You have to let them fail and win and discover by themselves, as long as you're guiding them through their safety net. Because it's, you could always, some parents are like, oh, I'm just gonna let them do whatever they want if they're their own person. I'm like, yeah, but you're also a parent that has to put at least some boundaries so they don't get hurt, so they don't get in a moment where they can mentally hurt themselves really bad or physically hurt themselves or others really bad. And I think something that parents need to understand is you at some point need to just let go of that hold. Like you said, like they need just to let go of that hold and understand that they created something individual, take interest in their interests, in their hobbies, and don't judge them too harshly, because we didn't like it when our parents judged us. So why would we do that to our kids?
No, like, your child's a part of you. Your child is not you. And that's sometimes
Exactly.
I find a lot of parents have a hard time separating that.
Right. Oh yeah. No, I definitely have seen parents want, like, oh, they're the perfect mini-me. They're my best friend and things like that. And yeah, I'll like joke around like, oh, my son's my best friend, but I may not be his one day. Maybe he will meet that best friend, and I have to be okay with that. He can't always be my baby boy. Like, he's gonna be a grown adult at some point, paying his bills, understanding how to navigate life through error and trial. And I have to be there in the sidelines, cheering him on, telling him it's okay. I'm always gonna be here for you, no matter what, but everything's gonna be okay. Ultimately, everything will be fine. And as a parent, you have to continuously reassure your kids. And the moment that you stop reassuring them and just start like that punishment where you start yelling at them, or you start like, oh, I don't want you to wear this. I don't need you to be doing this, and things like that, you lose that boundary, you lose that connection. Because like you said, now they see you like, oh, I can't even trust this person because they can't even trust me to be my own person. And it does go down to trust. You have to trust, and you have to have open communication. And I think, and for me in therapy, that I've learned is everything is about keeping an open communication, not only with yourself, but with your family, with your babies, with your spouse, with your friends, or whoever in your life that's important to you. Keep that communication open at all times, for sure.
I love it. Y'all both have very similar parenting ways, and it's beautiful. And honestly, I think it's succeeding very, very healthy. And so, moving on to the next question from my other patron, Pamela Farley. Pamela Farley asks, millennial trying to gentle parent a toddler. How do parents adopting the style of parenting deal with boundaries and grandparents or the people who do not listen to them?
Ooh.
I think I haven't had this happen too much. I have had times where people are like, oh, you need to spank your kid. And then I'm like, nope, we don't believe in that. And just kind of like disagreements. But I think the issue of how people see gentle parenting is they think it means permissive parenting, which by no means, you know, I've had to, not like yell, but I have had to be like, no, don't do that. Like be more stern with her. I've once or twice had to tap like her hand because she's going for something dangerous and she's not, I can't sit and communicate, be like, no, don't touch the stove as she's reaching for it, you know? But you know, gentle isn't permissive. And I think sometimes it's just having to talk through with the person that's not understanding, like, hey, I'm not permissive. I don't let her get away. She does have consequences, but this is not how we're going to do things.
One of the things that I did as soon as my son was born is I had read to never baby talk, like the little cutesy wootsy, never do that to your kids. And that was the very first thing I instilled with my ex-in-laws because they were very against a lot of my parenting ways. And it was, I had to just sit down with them and be like, hey, this isn't cool. I want my son to be ahead of the game. I want him to really have that knowledge within him growing now. So let's not talk to him like he's a little baby. Like, speak your words, pronunciate each words, and he'll grasp everything. And I feel like that really helped his development. But I will say it is hard still at times because my ex-father-in-law or his grandpa, he's very, very macho, into sports. He wants him to do sports. He wants him to do this and baseball and football. And that's not my son. My son doesn't do that type of stuff. He's not into it. And so what I started doing, I was like, okay, they're not listening to me. I wonder if they'll listen to him. So I started telling my son to speak up. Don't shy away from these. Yeah, they're your grandparents, but they also have to respect you. You may be only 9, but you have to be respected as well as a person. So he knows kind of like how to pick and choose his battles, but he will defend himself. Like he'd be like, no, grandpa, that's not what I'm into. This is actually what I like, and I like what I like. And in a way, they've kind of backed up a little bit on pressuring him to do certain things. They have they're really set in stone, so they have their moments, but most of the time, Darius is really good, which is my son, Darius. He's really good at saying, hey, I'm not cool with that. Like, let's stop. Like, we're done.
It's so hard though sometimes, like as a parent, it's like you want to advocate for your child and do what's best, but especially if it's someone that's close to you, because it kind of catches you off guard. You're like, whoa, I didn't realize we had like such different ideals on something that's like super important. And it's like, it's hard. It's so hard sometimes. My daughter's young, but I am not looking forward to having to advocate for her more. It makes me so anxious.
It is hard. I think, and I had told Auntie about it, that when I became a parent, I didn't realize how strong I truly was, because I was scared of my in-laws at one point. Like, you know, I kept thinking, oh, what if I do it like them? You know, their daughter came out amazing and, you know, this and that, and they're successful in their own way. But as I started growing as my own and as a parent, I started to find my strength in my voice and realized, whoa, you were not in labor for 48 hours. I was. So I'm gonna do what I have to do for my son. And if he doesn't feel comfortable, I don't feel comfortable. And if I don't feel comfortable, I have no problem leaving this house. And I have to put my foot down.
I feel like it's one of those things that just like kind of kicks into gear. Like we used to joke around, don't poke the bear, because my stepmom's name literally means bear. And so it was like a running joke because she was like very much a mama bear. She was very protective, and there's so many times that I was like, no, let me handle it. Please don't go charge in there and get all angry. She's protective. She loves me, right? She wanted to keep me safe. I was a very like tiny child that kind of let people walk all over me. And so I feel like as much as I avoid those situations and I don't feel like I'm good at standing up for certain things, I also feel like someone says something that makes her uncomfortable, I'll be like, tell them to come talk to mom. Like, I feel like it'll just click at a certain point.
That mama bear strength, it's gonna come in and you're gonna be like, who is she? Where like, what is going on?
Like, I didn't plan on fighting today, but now that we're talking about this, that's
I'm like, okay, let's go.
Oh, the earrings are coming off. We're serious.
Literally. Yeah, like that strength will come and you're just gonna be like, hold my purse. Let's go. Yeah, so it really is about finding your strength because you're the parent. You're the one that went into labor and did the crying and the screaming while pushing. You're the one that had the sickness while you were pregnant. You're the one that had the weird pickle hot pocket craving. Like you went through all of that.
Wait, I'm the adult? No, I need an adultier adult to adult.
Yeah, no, I'm very, even as a mother, but also as a friend and a sister, I've been always the advocate, like, you can do this, you can stand up for yourself, and if you ever get scared standing up for yourself, you call me. I
just ship in my husband. When I can't, my husband has no problem telling people, like, putting in their place. So I just usually am like, okay, you step in, please. I'm the happy love and glitter and hugs. you deal with that.
No, but I love that he's still supporting you, but he's definitely giving you that room to grow. I can tell, especially you as a mom now, you know, your baby's just barely 2, but you're gonna see, wow, I'm a strong ass bee and I got this.
And I was actually saying when it was like my interview, I was like, that was the number one thing I didn't expect, was like, as soon as you become a parent, you're like, whoa, I'm so much tougher and like I can handle so much more than I ever thought like I could possibly do.
Oh, for sure. And I feel like parents in general are superheroes. And I don't always mean like, oh, have a kid, you're a parent. Like, even if you're a parent to your pets, like, that is your baby. Or you're a parent to your company, that is your baby. If you're a parent to your designs or your creations, like, that's your creation, that's your baby. You're gonna grow that strength because you want to defend what you created. You're gonna want to defend what you love.
Like it's natural.
Oh yeah, it definitely comes up natural once you get to that point of knowing, like, this is my baby, ain't nobody touching my baby.
And in terms of talking about y'all mentioning, it's actually a fantastic segue of y'all mentioning being mama bear and protecting your babies, Aunt Kinky, a patron on my Patreon, asks, parenting in a connected world. Both of you are not quite at this point yet, but it's something that's going to come up. And so it's parenting in a connected world where you can easily go from Thomas the Train Engine to a very interesting site that quite a few adults enjoy. What is y'all's game plan for that?
Communication. Like, it just comes down to, even without internet, you know, there's still safety, there's still other things that, you know, you needed to worry about 10, 20, 30 years ago. At least, you know, with internet, I can track my child's phone. It's not like where people didn't have cell phones, they stayed out all night and then all of a sudden one friend didn't come home, you know? Like, I can know where she's at, I can communicate with her, and it's just going to be a lot of being on top of her and constantly reminding her of, like, hey, be safe, hey, this is not safe. Like, it's a little scary.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie.
Yeah. It's definitely a scary thought. My son finally has a phone, so that was something huge, a huge milestone. And I mean, he's earned it. He's you know, grade A's, and like I said, he does robotics, he does stuff. So he's a smart kid, and I was terrified about getting him a phone at first because of those type of websites and those spam callers, and sometimes they send you text messages now too. And it came down to, I just need to be very open and communicative with him. That's why I was teaching him the birds and the bees already. He, not to like a full detailed extent, but he understands the concept that in order to get pregnant, this is what needs to happen. He understands, like I say, he understands the whole LGBTQ. He understands pronouns and transgender and things of all nature. He understands it because that was one of my fears. Like, we live in such a technological world where everything is connected via technology. You can only do so much parent control to that extent where they eventually might find themselves stumbling to a website because someone sent them a link or their friend said, hey, look at this. So with that in mind, I started to think of game plans like, okay, let's give the body parts their proper terms. We're not doing like your no square. No, like we're leaving terms. Because when I was a child, I truly believed we came from a stork till I was 7. So,
one of my cousins was raised Mormon, and her dad had told her, like, if you kiss a boy, you'll get pregnant. So she was like mortified the day that I told her I had like my first kiss.
Mind blown, probably. She was like,
oh my gosh, you're gonna get pregnant. And I was like, no, that's not how it works. I feel like it comes back to the first question though, like open communication. If your kid feels you're a safe person, they'll come to you and be like, hey, I saw this thing, it's kind of weird. And it's like, hey, let's talk about it.
Yeah, that is a weird thing.
It comes back to having that open communication and understanding not to react angry first. And everyone knows anger is a reaction to either surprise or sadness or some kind of a sort of emotion. So we have to think as parents like, okay, he may have stumbled onto something. Let's not freak out, because if I freak out, then he freaks out, and then we're both freaking out. And then, so definitely keeping that open communication with your kids, and understanding that accidents may happen and some things may pop up that are out of your control. Unfortunately, you're not Superwoman. You can't control every little aspect of technology in life. And you have to be okay with that.
I also think like boundaries, because like even me, I never turn off my cell phone, because what if there was an emergency? What if someone's literally dying and 2 a.m. was the only time like I could have said bye to them or maybe saved them or whatever. But I have this constant fear of like not turning my phone off. And that's not healthy though. Like, and then people get in this like, oh my gosh, I texted you 5 hours ago, why haven't you texted back? It's like, because just because I have a phone doesn't mean I need to be at like everyone's beck and call at all times. And I struggle setting that boundary for myself, but I want her to know like, hey, just because you have a phone, just because there's a computer, you don't need to answer. You don't need to do this. Like, you can say, no, you can turn off your phone, go have a night's rest, because you're not going to be any good to anybody if you're not getting sleep. I know from experience, right? Like, I feel like that's something that's not quite talked about enough. Like, we talk about internet safety, we talk about, there's parental controls, there's this, that, but the one thing I find like our world still has a huge issue with is boundaries.
I think that is so true. Honestly, this phone stays on silent. Like, I'm my mom's guardian, but I already told her, like, if anything happens, yes, the phone will ring for you, but if anything happens after 1 a.m., it's between you and God. Okay, Mom? And
I need to say that to people.
Yeah.
Unless it's because at that point, if I need to make a decision, I'm like, it's either I'm making other decisions or it can wait. She's fine. Mm-hmm. So I think another question comes up on boundaries. This is the last question from Denise P. Everyone needs boundaries and to accept the boundaries of others. My mother was a yeller. I was in my early 20s and became a Montessori preschool teacher, and that's when I first realized that there were different ways to treat children. What are some tips and tricks that y'all have learned to make parenting just a bit easier?
You know what? I'm gonna let you go first because I've done nothing but babble this whole time. I'm sorry. It's just like having to
go ahead.
You go first on this one.
One of the tricks, or I guess some people call it like a parenting hack, is really goes back to communication. It's not even like it's not even a hard concept. It's communicating that this is what your needs are and your boundaries are as a parent, or in their case as a teacher. And so then the kids are going to be like, oh, my mom or my teacher doesn't like when I do this. Maybe I shouldn't do this because it's not a nice thing. And then in that terms, you can go to your kid and be like, okay, so I told you what I may not like. What do you not like? And typically the kid will tell you, well, like, I don't like when you hug me too hard, or I don't like when you tickle me because it doesn't feel good. And kids they're like little drunk people. They'll tell you everything. They'll
talk to strangers. They'll tell you anything. They'll pass out anywhere, stare at themselves for hours. Mm-hmm. They are. They're little drunk people. Yes.
They're gonna tell people and strangers your deepest, darkest secrets, and you're gonna be like, "What just happened?" So that's like it's okay to go to your kid and be like, what is it that I did that you may not have liked, so I don't do it again? And they'll tell you like, well, I didn't like how you got mad at me, or I didn't like how you yelled, or things like that. So then that's when you turn around and say, you know what, I apologize for that, and I'm gonna do my best to not break that boundary with you. Let's work together with that. And that's it. You really just have to communicate your boundaries and kind of let them understand their own, because some kids, they love hugs and some kids don't. And you have to be able to teach those kids, hey, Susie Q doesn't like hugs. She likes high fives. So if you're a hugger, but you know that she's not, go ahead and ask for permission first if you can hug her. If she says no, but says she's okay with a high five her. That's it. You can go about your day. You don't have to push it too hard. So it goes back to keeping that open communication and understanding that every little brain, every little mind is so different. Because my son is so different from my sister, who's 1 year older than him. She thinks very different, and she behaves very different, or she reacts to certain situations very different. And so he has to understand too, as an individual, like, I may react like this because the game shut down, but that doesn't mean she's going to react like this. So I have to let her do her thing, and then we can meet in the middle, like, hey, that wasn't really nice what you did. Let's not try to do that again, and I'll tell you why it's not nice. And it goes back again to that, having a communication. And when the little ones see you being open, communicative, they start to realize, oh, I can do that too. And they start to mimic that open communicative, and they start to understand boundaries without realizing that they're understanding boundaries.
I feel like it's definitely like turning the conversation to them is so helpful. Like, my parents were really good at communicating with me, but I feel like they were, working through some of their own stuff. And sometimes like boundaries was not really a big discussion. Like, I remember like having arguments and then them being like, okay, can I have a hug? And then I was like, no, I want to calm down more. And then they would always be like, we don't say no to like family, like, because they're from small towns, they're from places where like everyone hugs, and it's like, well, what if something happened to me, like, and you just said no to a hug? And like, I get the perspective, and we've had conversations about it since, but it's such a like harmful mentality, because, well, if I'm not allowed to say no to family, and unfortunately a lot of bad things tend to happen within the family because of that mentality, does that mean I'm not allowed to say no to other people? I'm not allowed to I'm just learning boundaries the last few years. Like, I've struggled hard, but I think like opening the floor for conversation, like, okay, so I told you did this thing today that I really didn't like, and why it wasn't a good thing to do. Since we're talking openly right now, I want you to have a chance to tell me if I've done anything recently that has hurt you, or that you didn't like, or that you would like me to work on. And then so we can both work on things, let the kid know, like, you're never done working on stuff. Because I hate that mentality of like, I'm the parent, I am all knowing. I'm not all knowing. In fact, I think we are all just liars, and some people are better liars than others. Nobody's really got it together. We just fake it really well. So like, I wanted to know, I'm still learning here too. Like, you tell me and I will work on that thing.
Mm-hmm. And have y'all gotten any of those practical Pinterest parenting tips? Like, cut this thing in half and it makes your parenting tote, or anything like that y'all use?
No, I definitely, like, when I was first becoming the mother and my son was maybe like 6 months old, I did go like on Pinterest to like look at parenting 101, what to do, what not to do. And I realized like what was working for that person definitely was not working for me. And I realized I don't think there's no real hack to parenting. I think really what it is just you're gonna grow every year with your kid and you're gonna learn something new with your kid. I've had to learn, you know, as much as I want sometimes my son to be a certain way or say certain things, I know that's not him. And I've grown past him wanting him to be a theater. You know, I'm like, it's never gonna happen. Fetch. It's never gonna happen. You know, you can't make fetch happen, and that's okay.
It's not Wednesday, but I am wearing pink.
I love that. I don't even think I own anything pink. Like literally the most colorful thing I own in my closet is probably like mustard yellow.
I'm the opposite. I own like maybe 2 like black sweaters and 1 black like jumpsuit that I wear all the time because it's the comfiest thing ever. But I like don't wear black. Everything I own is like blue, purple, or pink.
This is the most perfect juxtaposition between the two, and I love it.
I don't fully believe in hacks. Like the first year of my daughter's life, I like would constantly Google like symptoms and milestones and this and what should I do and what's the best way to approach it. And I've definitely found a couple like TikTokers who like are primarily parenting channels that I really love and kind of fall in line with a lot of their ideologies. But my kid is going to do things out of order. She's going to grow at her own pace. She's going to do things her own way. I'd rather learn with her and progress together. And I know if I spend too much time looking up hacks, it's just going to get in my head, no, it has to be this way. No, I have to. So I literally do not. Like if it's a health thing, I'll probably Google it and assume my child's dying and so am I and so is my husband and it's the end of the world and the world's going to blow up. But I try not to look up parenting things too much because I don't want to get stuff stuck in my head. I just want to take it as it comes and grow in a way that's best for my child to thrive.
Mm-hmm.
I think both those approaches are beautiful and perfect. I think we have run long, which I think is wonderful for this. Don't either of you be sorry for this at all. It creates beautiful, wonderful insight into this big thing that is parenting. You made life. You made little people that are eventually going to become big people. And so now at the end of this, is there a where y'all would want to, because I know Samshine, you are becoming a tattoo artist. Karina, you work in retail, but do you want people to go find your socials and follow you? I know Sam, your art, you would like that. Would you like people to do some self-promotion as well?
I don't have anything to promote.
That's fine.
I am like the most chillest person. My Instagram is literally the most random things. It's just selfies and fashion. So if you want to follow it. If not, that's okay. Everything's very
What's your socials, Karina?
So for my Instagram, it's Karibat. So it's Karibat 93. And you'll recognize it because the first thing you're gonna see is like my tattoos. So it's very about like tattoos and like my nights out, fashion, things like that. Something that I'm actually starting to do is kind of like a day as an operations manager while also being a full-time mom. That's something I've kind of just started to do, especially with the new year. I want to just try new things, and I think I want other parents to know like, hey, I'm learning just as much as y'all, like, but I'm also an individual person, and that's okay.
I love it. And Samshine, where can people follow you on this journey that is to be a tattoo artist?
All my socials are at Samshineart. Truthfully, I don't update anything. Once in a blue moon, I'll post on TikTok. I do post regularly-ish, try to. At least in my stories on Instagram, though, that's kind of like the best part to follow me and communicate with me.
Instagram's
I definitely want people to follow me. I never used to be great at art. I always loved it, but wasn't the best. So literally for like a few years, I barely went out and saw people. I was very selective about like what family or friend things I did, and I just stayed at home, whether I did art for 5 minutes or like 5 hours. Until like I started easing up when I got to a point that I'm like, okay, I'm not the best ever, but I'm a lot happier with my skills now. But now I'm at a point, I'm like, art is my entire personality. So I'm just like, please look at my art. I think I make cool things. I think there's always going to be like better artists, but I mean, I feel like I've put in enough hard work that I get to be like proud of myself.
You should be proud of yourself, always.
There's always going to be all these artists, but they're never going to be you. They're never going to be your. That's what makes you unique and amazing as a person and as an artist.
That is like the most mom-like pep talk ever. Definitely gonna go follow you. I want to see your little adventures, and I want to see your fashion because I
y'all two better at each other.
I totally am.
So aside from being an operations manager, I was actually a full-time stylist, like a wardrobe stylist. So if you ever need tips or help, I have no problem helping all out with anything.
I feel like I might be beyond help, but maybe.
No, I took on each and every challenge. You're a fashionista and you don't even realize it.
That is a delight. I think we can end on that beautiful note. You both gave such wonderful ending statements. And I want to thank you both for being here. It has been beyond a pleasure to have you both here. Thank you so much for taking time out of y'all's nights. And I'll see y'all on Instagram.
And thank you. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you
for having us.
It was a pleasure. I was like, you know what? This works great. They both see two fantastic different points of view. I was like, let's go for it. So it has turned out into a fantastic episode.
I had a lot of fun. I enjoyed this a lot.
I enjoyed it too.
Yeah, definitely awesome.
Both are such fantastic personalities.
My face literally
hurts. Followers out there, and to my followers out there, be sure to hit that notification bell or subscribe, whatever it is, on whatever app it is you're watching or listening to this on. And again, thank you. And if you do want to be a guest on this show, feel free to email me at yourgayauntie@gmail.com. I do read those, and when I come up with an idea, I move forward with the idea. The next episode will be out after this one in 2 weeks from now. And I haven't quite decided if it's going to be on art or artists. We shall see. Thank you all very much. I once again want to personally thank all of y'all for enjoying this second episode of Talk and Tea with Auntie. It has been a fantastic process to start doing this series, and I hope you enjoyed it. So be sure to turn on that notification bell and subscribe, or whatever app you're on. And I also always want to thank all of my patrons on Patreon and people who emailed me directly. Another special thank you to Samshine Art and Karibat93 for being our second set of guests on this show. The purpose of the show is to show everybody different walks of life and different interests from across the country and across the world to help people connect a little better and see what the other life is like. And I am so happy to be able to do so in this platform, excited to push it much more forward. Thank you to my patrons on Patreon who asked these questions of our guests: Hannity Kratz, Pamela Farley, Denise P., and Auntie Kinky. If you would like to ask a question of our guests for our next episode, feel free to become a patron on my Patreon for as low as $3 a month. Also, a very, very special thank you to all my patrons on Patreon who make my content possible and keep my lights on and my kitty cat fed and allow me to produce all of this content. Thank you all so much. Our next episode will be focusing on artists, and not necessarily in the way you think. So stick around in 2 weeks to see the next episode discussing artists and artistry and art. So stick around for the next episode in about 2 weeks' time. As always, I love you all, and remember, drink your water. You take care, my loves, and I love every single one of you.